While it is undoubtedly the most popular, Fallout is not the only series to tell a story set in a post-apocalyptic world. There's Wasteland, which is a series of more traditional RPGs, but there's also Metro 2033. Can you beat Metro 2033 with only a revolver? Before the gameplay even starts, the stage is set. 20 years ago, there was a nuclear war which did not do nice things to Moscow. 40,000 people retreated underground and turned the subway restaurants we've all come to know and love into a breeding ground for mutated creatures. Subway, please don't sue me. Then came the choice that influences every split-second decision that happens throughout the rest of the game. I chose the Spartan mode because resource management sounds complicated. Then I chose the easiest difficulty, normal. The lack of an easy difficulty was the first sign that bad things were a-comin'. The game begins, and I don't have a revolver, only this glorified lead squirt gun. I noticed immediately that the aiming is a little off. It's like looking up and down is slower than looking left to right. The problem was immediate. Monsters attacked me, and I had to attack them back. I failed the challenge in record time by attacking with the knife. Outside, in view of a lighthouse, we got swarmed by a horde of monsters. The number of them made it clear that not attacking back wasn't an option. I opened fire, I got attacked, an incestuous descendant of Big Bird got me, and darkness. Alex, the Russian guy, there's only like one of those in this game, instructed me to follow him. He led me through the station, which was packed to the brim with a bunch of crybabies, and we met Hunter at the gate. Sounds of rats in the pipes gave away what was about to happen. I got my revolver and went to work. This is about as easy as combat will ever be. Most of the monsters are behind the grating, but I still took more damage than I expected. Alex rambled on about the Dark Ones being the next step in human evolution. The outer guard post was destroyed by the so-called Dark Ones, and a lot of people were dead. Super badass Hunter gave me his dog tags, a job, and ventured out into the darkness. Yeah, he died. I wandered around a bit. It didn't occur to me until sometime later that the compass points towards my objective instead of pointing north. Because, you expect a compass to be an actual compass. You don't look at a plunger and think about how it could be a cereal bowl. Armory guy gave me a submachine gun, the bastard gun to be more specific, some ammo, a phone charger, a gas mask similar to the one I'll be wearing when I open my jar of cheese, a few medkits. I used bullets to buy more bullets, and set off towards Riga. The train car was fun. It was like Five Nights at Freddy's meets Donkey Kong Country meets Back at the Barnyard meets Chernobyl. This guy was a man after my own heart. A tunnel collapsed or some other shit. Something happened, and he doesn't give enough of a fuck to know what. We had to use a different tunnel to get to... I'm not saying that. I'll go ahead and point out now that I had a hard time keeping track of everyone in the game. What, because of the Russian accents and the Russian names. Things got green, and conveniently, the guy with only a revolver was stuck watching the path. Shadow people walked the track, and the son of the sun gave everyone an aneurysm. I'm not entirely sure what happened next. It kinda looked like I got felt up by an Enderman, but that couldn't be right. I missed 2 point-blank shots, another bad sign. As expected, the guy who came along at the last second got killed first. That's how games work. It really hit me just what I'd gotten myself into when I had 13 shots left, and there were what looked like 15 Nosalises after us. Nosalises are the name of the mutants. Some of them take 3 to 4 shots to kill. I don't want to brag or anything, but I passed calculus with a C. Alright, I know a thing or two about math, and if my calculations are correct, I'm what we like to refer to as fucked. As they started violating my restraining order that I'd only just begun to write out in crayon, I began using my knife because some genius told me to conserve my ammo. This is not Fallout, where ammo is plentiful. One of the main themes of this game is that people are struggling to get by with scarce resources. That includes my ammo. Because of this, using my knife is allowed. It's about as effective as one of those Nerf swords, but it's better than nothing. I already failed the challenge at the very beginning, and it wouldn't be possible for me to get through this section without the knife. There wasn't enough revolver ammo for it to work. I got knocked off the side, hid while every Nosalis in the world ran by, and what remained of me arrived at the Riga station. A little boy in stupid green boots told me a man is waiting for me. How he knew who I was or where I would be is a mystery to everyone except for him. His name is Bourbon, like the soap, and he told me he needed to get to Dry Station. This is the sort of thing an English teacher would want you to write about in an essay. Recall the 1920s and 30s, and the prohibition and the mobsters and the whatnot. Regions without alcohol would be known as dry counties. Bourbon is an alcohol, dry station, dry county. I'm giving myself an E for effort and a B for bullshit waste of time. I attempted to stock up on bullets, but in the perfect scenario, you can only carry 60 revolver ammo, which is really not a lot. It was a good thing I did that though, because a whore called out to me, her friend bonked me on the head with a head and stole my money. Mr. Krabs would have killed everyone in the station had that little stunt been pulled on him. Anyway, I met back up with Bourbon, followed him to a secret exit, and we began making our way through the tunnels. A group of raiders were hiding out in our path. Human enemies, in general, are less annoying than the mutants. They go to hell when they die because that's where we all go, from one hell to the next. And they can be taken down with a single headshot. This is standard video game shooty stuff here. Some of them even had revolver ammo on them. This turn of events led to an absurd amount of anger and disappointment down the line. Past the raider camp, we arrived at the bridge where we had to use our gas masks for the first time. After I died, I let Bourbon do most of the work. I found the way he went up the stairs a bit humorous. We cleared out another wave of Nosalises, and disaster struck. He jumped from the back of the train car. Then I did, but I barely missed the mark. Landed on the edge, and got a checkpoint. I was stuck. There was no way for me to get up to where he was, so I had to restart the mission. Thankfully, we weren't too far into it yet. I don't want to waste time on it, but everything I just did in the tunnels I did again. Made the jump the second time, and we were past the bridge. I OD'd on glowing green fungus several times here, as I got glimpses at a world us mortals aren't meant to comprehend. We got to the station, held off a wave of nasal monsters, like myself. I saved the last bullet I had for myself just in case I needed it, and we entered the market. Inside, I followed Bourbon for a bit, sold my non-revolving weapons, put a few upgrades on my revolver, sold my flashbangs and throwing knives. If I have to blind someone, I'll do it with a gun like a real man. Mike showed us his secret passageway, and we were on the surface for the first time. The surface, while scary, is very post-apocalyptic. It's spooky and eerie and snowy. Lake Erie only has 2 of those things. Score 1 for Moscow. As is tradition in video games, Bourbon made the jump to the other side of the river while I couldn't. I had to take the long way around, and I'll be frank here, I am the opposite of smart. Remember what I said about me expecting the compass to be a compass? Well, I sorta got lost for about half an hour. The game tells you that a button brings up the compass, but I require constant hand-holding. I won't even go to the bathroom without help. Catheters can be real wiggly. The point here is that I wasted a lot of time. I even looked up a guide on a certain website showing how to get through it. Eventually though, I learned what compasses do. I thanked God for that compi, suffocated just after getting a handle on the situation, and reunited with my old buddy Bourbon. If my sponsor heard me say that, I would be in deep shit. I wasted a bunch of ammo on the Nosalises, which I think are supposed to be like mutated moles or something. Rugrats Season 5 Episode 11, Journey to the Center of the Basement. Did mole people first? Did these amateurs really think they could get a Rugrats reference by me? We sought shelter in a building of some sort, and found ourselves in another station. But, oh no, it was taken over by bandits. Bourbon offered his body to the guards as a peace offering of sorts. They kicked his ass, and it was up to me to rescue him. You might be able to sneak your way through this. I don't know, I just attacked from a distance on unsuspecting targets. It wasn't long before I made my way through them all and found Bourbon. He made the rookie mistake of taking his eyes off the target. Everyone knows you don't kill with your heart, you kill with your hands and what's in them. Unless you have dementia, then you kill with whatever. It's not like you'll remember it. A new guy showed up, Khan. Another ranger, I would assume. Khan's a sneaky motherfucker. He knows all the hidey holes. The ghost of Thomas the Tank Engine choo-chooed its way past us towards the big train track in the sky. A bunch of almost Endermen tried to stop us in our path. Voodoo shit scared them off real good. Then we saw it, the all-powerful ball of energy that once called itself the Conductor, the star of the hit simulation game A-Train 8. Deeper into the tunnel, I died after running out of ammo. Khan told me not to touch the pretty light. I did it anyway. Fought off the Nosalises by hiding in the corner. Pulled the trigger a couple hundred times just to be 100% sure I had no ammo. Got onto a train car, and as expected, the guards needed our help. And of course, when I say our help, I mean my help. Things went south pretty quickly after my life got turned off by demons. Then I figured it out, retrieved the can of gas, planned it inside something to cause boom, then meet the blacksmith. I accidentally interrupted an execution in progress by stumbling blindly into a room. The guy who led the way was a real trooper. Right when he was about to die, he gave me a hint about where to go. It was a nice gesture on his part. I still don't care that he died, but it was still nice. Andrew the blacksmith assumed the role of one of those weird dress-up Flash games when he gave me a new uniform. Then I may have hit the wrong button right before I started recording. I say that because there are things on the screen that shouldn't be there. Luckily, it wasn't obstructing anything important. All I did was buy ammo and sneak onto a wheel machine. After falling off the wagon, I had to fight my way through everyone in my path. This was rough, but I gritted my teeth and began to plow. I stabbed one guy in the neck and everyone lost their shit. This is actually one of the common complaints about this game, that the stealth system is incredibly unforgiving. All it takes is one person to see you and everyone knows where you are. Something else I noticed here is that there are now human enemies who can take more than one headshot to kill, and that's pretty gosh darn bad. By the time I got through this first segment, I was down to 17 shots. With all the corpses and various locations to loot, I got myself up to about 22. This is without a doubt the most challenging part of this game. A fully decked out revolver is a solid weapon, but it's so difficult to find ammo for it. Early on in the game, you can resupply fairly regularly at a station. Later in the game, starting around here, you don't get that option. What you have is what you have, and that's it. On the cooler side of the tracks, I found a little more ammo and a bunch more Nazis. That's who I'm fighting, by the way. It took me a good 30 minutes to get past this one. Generally, my tactic here was to be as accurate as possible. Missing even a few shots would screw me down the line. There were times when I reloaded a checkpoint just because I knew I'd gotten myself into a pickle. It's like having kids. If you make a mistake, just get rid of it and start over. I did try closing my eyes and running through all the gunfire while screaming like a little girl. Didn't work. Just like in real life, getting shot slows you down. Eventually, I figured out that there was a path below the railway that allowed me to sneaky away the soldiers one by one. The cover let me take a few shots, then retreat to avoid being detected. And with a few bullets to spare, I was done. I got sidetracked a bit by a pretty red light that led me to a group of prisoners. They had all the gear in the world, but they would not share. Rest assured, my kindergarten teacher will hear about this, and she will not be happy. Guess what? I'm not done yet. More Nazis. This section wasn't that bad. There were fewer of them here, as well as a scaffolding high above them that I could shoot from. I quite literally had no ammo after I got through it. I got hit in the face again, and woke up with a gun pointed at me. Of course, the bad guys had to point the gun at me for a long time before shooting me, allowing some new Russian guy to rescue me. The shoelace is on the other sandal this time. But all was good, because I found 4 whole bullets. In an unfortunate twist, those bullets won't matter. What came next was an on-rails shooter section. We tried to cosplay our way past the Nazis. Didn't work. We were found out. I thought that maybe I'd be able to get by without shooting. I couldn't. It's like the assault on Fort Mercer in Red Dead Redemption. I had no option to not use the machine gun. I use it, or I don't proceed further into the game. You would think that this would be easy, just point and shoot. No, my first wife was easy. This was not. Mostly because the controls suck. Right stick looks up and down. Left stick looks right to left. Maybe it was the other way around. It doesn't matter. I'm going to assume that this was intentional to showcase how difficult it was to operate this giant gun. This is a video game good game after all. Realism number 1. After that thrilling nightmare, my night vision goggles didn't work. I completely forgot about that battery charger. Then the gang and I passed through a station on rails. You know what's worse than using that machine gun? An on-rails shooter section where I can only use my revolver. It is so bad. God smiled down at me and made that only last a few moments. Everything changed when the mole people attacked. At least a dozen of them. I had fewer than 10 shots left, so I stuck to my knife for the most part. My tour guide forgot his debit card in the gift shop and went back to get it, and I was alone. Pavel was the guy's name. All that was left to do was crawl through the sewer system, and I was at another friendly station. Finally, I could stock up on supplies, take a shower, maybe trim my nose hair. No, not even close. The station was attacked, and I was on call to help defend it with my 18 bullets. I sat in the corner and didn't shoot anything unless it came at me first. The other guys could be eaten alive for all I care. I had my 4th or 5th aneurysm, and when I came to, the mutants broke through. Soldier guy tasked me with broadcasting an emergency message to Polis. Silver linings and whatnot, I was able to sneak through most of this station without being attacked. An exciting new problem is the mole hole. Here's a tip. If you're in an area that is overrun with mutants, don't go spelunking. Some kid learned about death the fun way. His uncle was napping and wouldn't wake up. For real though, Artyom is a freak. He let this kid climb on his back without saying a single word. Also, the movement gets real loosey-goosey here with this Russian off-brand Kazooie on board. But Because kids dying in video games is generally a no-go, there weren't many mutants to deal with. I saw this guy again, returned the kid to his parent, bought 54 bullets for my 3 revolvers, and fell face first into the hateful embrace of Mother Nature. Outside were more Nazis. This was tougher than I anticipated because Nazis are generally gigantic pussies. I had plenty of ammo. The issue was one of numbers. I tried taking them all out at once. A wheelchair-bound 6-year-old with a pool noodle could kick the asses of a dozen Nazis without a problem. Virtual Nazis are something else entirely. They have guns and armor. After a few attempts, I started attacking them from the shadows like I should have from the start, removed all of them from this dimension, and entered a building. Again, not easy. The conservation of ammo is always of the utmost importance. The more shots you miss, the more paranoid and careful you become, which makes your ankles swell up from all the stress, and affects your ability to be a potent killing machine. To be honest, there isn't a whole lot to say here. It's just a bunch of trial and error, trying to stealthily kill as many people as you can without being detected. By now, you're probably tired of hearing about how uncommon revolver ammo is. If you run out, there's a good chance you won't find any more for a while. A considerable amount of time passed, and I was in the abandoned car park. I looked for any signs of Mater. He was nowhere to be found. The flying demons can be a nuisance, but they seem to fly in a predictable pattern. As long as you avoid their path, you should be alright. All was good. I was back indoors with a new friend. Or an old friend? He's Ullman. I don't know if that tells you anything. He gave me a neat automatic silenced rifle that I dropped after taking a few test shots. More of the same was next. Close quarters, little ammo, lots of people to kill. The only upside is that the enemies are spread throughout the station in groups of 3 or 4 or 2. Take out one group in one area, then move to the next. It's time consuming and annoying as hell when you're working with less than 10 bullets, but it's not impossible. Turning off the generator cuts power and makes you harder to detect, allowing you to fire from the shadows with a lesser chance of being detected. I got through the station, had a heart attack when my HDMI cable had a stroke. I had a dream of spring. This is the closest you're ever gonna see to that book, so you better fucking enjoy it. And at long last, I made it to Polis to deliver Hunter's message. Fuck that. He's dead. He doesn't matter anymore. What's more important is that I could finally buy more ammo. Miller looked like someone, but I couldn't quite figure out who it was. Maybe Squidward? No, probably not him. As expected, the council refused to help my station. Miller had a plan. We're gonna skip World War IV, go straight to World War VI. World War V is a prequel and doesn't count, and launch missiles at the Dark Ones. This game though, this fucking game, man. I had all the ammo in the world, and what happens? I'm swarmed by mole people at the library's entrance. Miller arrived after I'd wasted most of my ammo, because of course it happens that way. I'm not allowed to experience pleasure. Nobody gets me. So if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go express my teenage angst by listening to Pain by 3 Days Grace while my mom drives me to school. I will say this about the library. It got me an achievement. You should always look for the silver linings. You may have gotten hit by a drunk driver, but you get to ride in an ambulance, which is kinda neat. Not $8,000 for a 3-minute ride neat, but still neat. Getting into the depths of the library involved a series of puzzles a preschooler could solve. A group of mole people attacked, a giant feral parrot attacked one of our comrades, and I had to retrieve the D6 map on my own. This was the most stealth-oriented part of the game by a metric mile. There are these big, zombie sorta gorilla things to contend with. The wiki calls them librarians, which is fair. They're about as attractive as a librarian. One did the classic horror move of grabbing me through a wall, then it assaulted me in the next room, and ran off after I stored a few bullets in his body. I hit him with 2 or 6 shots, didn't really faze him all that much. Practically speaking, I can't kill him. But when all was lost, Combat Parrot returned to save the day, then Library Girl fought back, and I thought I was getting a Pixar moment. One slowly approached me, and I approached it. It killed me real quick. The next time around, I ignored it and ran for the door. I kept creeping my way through the library. Most of the gorillas can be snuck past. Even the sound of a collapsing stone staircase isn't enough to draw their attention. One tried to corner me in an office. It didn't know that I'm a virtual parkour master. I evaded it, checked a bunch of drawers in what may be the most frustrating cutscene of all time. Got the map, made my way out of the library off screen, got picked up by Mustard or whatever the fuck his name is, and we rode together to Sparta. The military guys here were so nice. They gave me free weapons and supplies and ammo. They're just like the real military. Khan was here. I said hi. Miller said we were headed to D6, and we rode the trolley into the station. brain problems struck again. They asked me if I was okay, and naturally I responded with nothing. The inability to speak is a telltale sign of a stroke. A new toy was given to me here. A fucking flamethrower. I didn't use it. Seemed horrifically impractical against a bunch of monsters coming at us from a confined tunnel. I got by just okay with my revolver. Comrades did a lot of the work for me. Yeah, I had very little ammo left, but I've been here before. This fuck spammed me with invites to play Apex Legends. I don't play those baby games. I'm a real gamer. I play Roblox. The dungeons here were fun. There was hardly any revolver ammo, but it wasn't necessary. There were a bunch of military guys with me. All I had to do was run in circles while they did all of the shooting. Each area got progressively larger and more filled with mole people as we went deeper into the building. I got hit a few times, but that was about all that happened. One guy got dragged into the darkness and laughed as he blew himself up. I too plan on laughing when I die. Laughing at the bottom of the ocean will be a challenge, but I'll find some way to make it work. We found the door to D6. I went under the blast door, and it trapped me on the other side. I was alone again, naturally. And to make matters worse, scorpions crawled out through the walls. They're fast, take more than a few bullets to kill, and are annoying to kill. So I didn't. Like things in real life that have the potential to kill me, I ignored the problem until it went away. Once I reunited with the crew, a train saved the day and gave us a free ride into the depths of the Forgotten Facility. Now we're in the thick of it. We're at the command center. The center was gross. There was fog everywhere, more fog than I drove through last year. That was a fun time. Fog is way more fun than snow. Wilbur, what's his name? It doesn't matter, told me to go up to the rafters and flip a couple switches. We played Simon Says, where he said do a thing and I did the thing. The power was restored, and the four of us rode a smaller trolley down into the darkness. Then it stopped. The littlest train you've ever seen brute forced its way through the door. Vladimir tried to activate the missiles, but there was a problem. Miller, Almond, and I had to go fix it. Those bloopy things from Super Mario Sunshine created a little home for themselves down here. They're also suicidal, but it just so happens that Miller can't die. I stayed back as far as I could while those little biohazards threw themselves at Miller. I had to conserve my ammo in case their suicidal tendencies spread to me, or if I stepped in something that resembled a slug. I wouldn't be able to go on if that happened. One more elevator ride got us down into the heart of darkness. The biomass thing feeds on the reactor. I shot it once and determined that it was immortal, all-knowing, and very pretty. To get the thing back online, I had to play the crane game. I wasn't lowering the grabber thing low enough to lift the cores, and subsequently got melted. The next time I did things properly and lifted all the things. With the day almost saved, Miller and I rode towards our destiny, the tower, where it all began, only this time I had my revolvers. Instead of a worthless automatic rifle, I used more ammo than I should have. My parrot betrayed me for the last time, and I got saved by my only remaining comrade. I repaid him by shooting nothing and running in circles. If it worked in the Civil War, it should work for me. There were 3 of these sections where we got stopped by a few mole people who were brave enough to break away from the pack. He pressed onward and didn't defend me like he was supposed to, causing me to die. I then did what I thought was smart. I ignored all the mole people and ran towards the tower, assuming that if I waited long enough, the other guy would show up. Well, he never did. The monsters weren't allowed inside by the laws of this universe, so I had that going for me. Not that it mattered, since I couldn't make any progress without Miller. I reloaded the checkpoint to try again, attempted to help Miller a little more than I did the last time. He teleported back to the other side of the building. This time, I fought the monsters and stayed closer to Miller. Then, something insta-killed me. Then it happened again. Even with all of the Nosalises dead, one spawned from nowhere and killed me. A glitch, it would seem, that was verified by some person on a forum years ago. I had to reload the chapter, which meant starting back at the car scene. I immediately ran towards certain doom to advance the story. And again, misfortune has its benefits, as I got another achievement. I fired a few shots in each of the mole people assault sections to, I don't know, show God that I was willing to do my part, I guess. This time, we got through the Nosalises in the fence area, entered the tower. Miller ripped out some part of the elevator, and we rode to the top. I almost fell off, but almost doesn't count unless you're playing Russian roulette or Chutes and Ladders. I jumped off the side to see what would happen, as any reasonable person would, and began scaling the tower to reach Miller. This parrot tackled him into the wall. He probably broke a few things in the process. I was right next to him when it happened. I was fine. He was probably faking. As usual, I must go it alone. The ladder began falling apart as I climbed up. This was easier than what I imagined the end of the game would be. Being so high up, I expected to be fighting a bunch of feral parrots. That didn't happen. It was some basic platforming accompanied by voices in my head that were born during one of my many strokes. I did throw some dynamite though. I figured the top of the world was an appropriate place to use it for the first time. Finally, I reached the top, placed the target locator, and the voices overwhelmed me enough to transfer me into a dream. Endermen were everywhere, and there were puzzles. A survival horror, first-person shooter, ends with fucking puzzles. They're not even good. All you're doing is running down a series of hallways and going whatever direction to avoid the red light guy. A few jumps are necessary. If you mess up, you fall off the tower, and it comes full circle. At the very beginning, I was told, if it's hostile, you kill it. And that's what I did. With my trusty revolver, I fired 3 shots into one of the dark ones. I woke up, was immediately confused because my hands were green. I forgot I was wearing gloves. The final cutscene played, showing the missiles landing and obliterating the dark ones, and I did not beat Metro 2033 with only a revolver. And that's going to do it for this video about whether or not you can beat Metro 2033 with only a revolver. If you enjoyed the video or learned anything, leave a like. Leave a dislike if you didn't enjoy the video or didn't learn anything. Thanks to the champion tier supporters as well as other channel members for helping make videos like this one possible. Follow me on Twitter @MittenSquad. My name is Paul of Mitten Squad. Have a wonderful day.